Welcome to the Awakening Podcast. You can find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. Another perspective with my co-host, Arnold. Hi, Arnold. How's it going? So, as always, we're going to share what we're going to discuss.
Yes, but before we do that, I want to explain the picture which people see. If you're only listening, I will try to explain. It's two folks pointing at a number which is lying in front of them, and to the guy on the left, it looks like a 6, and to the guy on the right, it looks like a 9. So, and of course, they are arguing. Is like, it's a 6. No, it's a 9. It's a 9. No, it's a 6. Yes, what this picture says is just because you're right doesn't mean the other person is wrong. You just haven't seen life from their angle. And I think this is a very, very important picture in a beautiful way explain why there is so much arguments, discussions, fights, and more nasty things going on, especially on social media, but it's everywhere. It's in football, it's in politics, it's everywhere. Whereas we assume is like, if people are assuming that only their perspective is the correct perspective, but maybe the other person's perspective is also right. So that is what this beautiful picture indicates, is that we should be more and more open to the other person's point of view. And that is in essence also what we're trying to do with the show.
Yeah, excellent. So this week we're going to discuss with the news, VAT on holidays, a petition to ensure that Conor Mc Gregor is on the ballot for president, Japan, state of emergency, Mexico's mandatory biometric program, and the US job cuts surge to pandemic levels. AI and ChatGPT 5 released, and no work-life balance. Good news, Caravan.
Oh, I'm too fast.
Yeah. Arnold's excited today. Honey never expires. Norway Honest Shops and leftover hotel soap. Next one is health, healing herbs, artificial turf dangers, walking benefits, and water electrolyzers. I can't even say that properly. Electrolyzers. Thank you, Arnold. Inspiration, misinformation, or missing information. Be present, and Tibetan Proverb. So, VAT on holidays. What's that all about?
Yeah, but before we go there, we want to share with you guys our donation slide and including a QR code, because we actually spending hours and hours already today. For us, it's Sunday morning. We both of us already spent many hours to prepare the show for you. We love doing it. We love to share this another perspective with you. But unfortunately, we both have to pay the rent and our food and everything else. So we would be really grateful if you buy us a coffee, a juice, a symbolic message, amount which you will share with us every month, because we would like to continue doing this, but we also need an income.
Just this week, we subscribed to a streaming service so that it should go out live on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. And it is a lot of work. So we thought it would be going out live now. It hasn't for some reason, so we have to figure that out. But that even took half a day just trying to figure out. But that's the plan, is that everything's live, because we do this in one take anyway. And as I mentioned before, when Arnold says something to me or I say something, he doesn't know what we just know the topics. We just know what you just seen there, but I haven't a clue what he's going to talk about, and vice versa. Hence, we then get our opinion from it. And so when he says we spend a lot of time, we're both researching heavily. So we appreciate any donation.
This is a picture of some, well, actually quite nice looking holiday homes. And, well, in the Northern Hemisphere, many people are on holiday or just had their holiday. But the government in the Netherlands has made I think a terrible decision, is that by the 1st of January 2026, which is in less than half a year, they will increase the VAT from 9 to 21%. That's an increase of 12% on nights or, well, sleeping on campings, hotels, bed and breakfast, and holiday homes like the one you see on the picture. That's an incredible amount of money for a family of 4. You're supposed to go on this holiday, and now we increase it by 12%. We're talking about thousands of euros for families and everything else. And there was a lot of criticism from some institutions and even some cities, because they know they will get less tourists because of this. And which seems to be becoming the norm, and I mentioned it a few times already in the past few weeks, in a democracy, it would be decided as they were not going to do it, but the Dutch government said, well, we're going to do it anyway. So this increase from 9 to 21%, I think it has a devastating impact on the families who would love to enjoy their holidays in their own country, but they can no longer afford it. But it's also those holiday parks and hotels and bed and breakfast who will significantly lose business. So I think it's kind of, well, it's not a win-win, it's a lose-lose decision. I think it's really terrible.
That's probably a test, because even if I look at the VAT on other services, like even Estonia, because I've got an Estonian company, it was like 20, then it was 22, now it was 24. And I'd seen that across the board, even Poland, everywhere, they just go up. So that might just be Holland, no. But I reckon it's going to be Ireland and everywhere else. And costs are massive anyway at the moment. It's like people can barely do it. So it's like attacking the family unit again. People trying to get a bit of a wait time where they bond together. Yeah, they'll just eventually go, we can't afford to do it anymore. And they'll just close up. And what will they use them holiday homes for? A more accommodation for those that they bring in.
Absolutely.
So this is one, I've mentioned him a few times, Conor Mc Gregor's presidential ambitions. He has publicly declared his intention to run for the presidency of Ireland, aiming to challenge the current political establishment. However, Ireland's constitution requires presidential candidates to be nominated by at least 20 Oireachtas members, that's the House members, or 4 local authorities out of, I believe, 31 local authorities, make it difficult for outsiders like McGregor to get on the ballot. So first of all, that's one thing. Before he even done that annoyed me, because I was even looking at that before, that it's basically political parties control it. And if I look at the current president, Michael D. Higgins, he's been, it's like a 7-year term. He's finishing his second term. Not a good guy. He signed the eviction bill, so where they kick all our people out on the street. And so you've got all the politicians kind of working between themselves, who's going to be the next guy. I think it's good that you get somebody that's coming in. With him, not sure, but he launched the petition to reform the nomination process, arguing that the current system restricts democratic participation. His petition calls for a more open, public-driven nomination process, reducing resilience in political endorsements. As of now, so this morning, just before recording, it was just 14,899 signatures. Might seem good for some, but I was kind of shocked, because he's got massive social media presence because of his UFC and all the winning he did. People were really behind him, but there was a bit of controversy. He was accused, I think he lost that one on rape, but there's an appeal going for it. But based on what I have seen from that, that was like when they knew he was going for this, they were coming after him. So it doesn't look like that's a true story, that he was framed for that. He did have sexual relations with your one, but he didn't rape her. So that's that's about, and that's where there's information. But the one thing that I didn't like that he did is there was an old man in a pub, and it was recorded from the camera in the pub, and he punched the guy in the head. Apparently, he was trying to give him his whiskey that he's promoting, and the guy didn't want it. So he punched, I don't know how old the guy was. He could have been 70 or whatever, but a professional fighter digging a guy in the head. So I lost total respect for him for that. But on the other side, like, what he's doing is he went to the White House and he started explaining everything that's happening in Ireland, all the immigration, how the country's being destroyed. So I have to take my hat off to him for that. But I think, unfortunately, public opinion doesn't like him like they did 5-10 years ago because of the controversy that's going on at the moment. But if they make the change that he's trying to do, doesn't mean if he gets elected, I think it's a good thing, because I don't think it should be in-house, all the politicians, because there's not one political party in Ireland that's actually for the people. There might be a few independents that are okay, and they seem to be highlighting stuff when nothing gets done. So watch this space. I'll keep you updated on this one.
From a distance, it looks a bit like what I shared a few months ago about what's happening with the Romanian president elections. Yeah, it looks like the same approach. Is like they don't want the person, and we're gonna spread, well, I don't know whether they're lies or not lies, but let's say not favorable messages, so that the person doesn't even get on the list, which happened in Romania, and from what you're saying, might be very well the case in Ireland as well. So it's a proven tactic, which again shows that the sitting folks, they just want to keep their group of friends the same, and they don't want any outsiders who might have a different opinion. A country which I would not have expected that they are so openly attacking the existing narrative, I would say, around vaccines and everything. Japan, which most of it would say is an extremely conformistic country. But the message I saw here is that it says Japan is on fire. A medical rebellion is erupting. Tokyo just declared a national emergency after an explosion of child death, all traced to the mRNA injections. Pediatric wards are overloaded, autopsy rooms are flooded, and Japan's top scientists just detonated the global narrative. Their target is Bill Gates, and even it's not just one guy, it's respected immunologists, geneticists, and forensic pathologists have stepped forward, accusing Gates and its pharmaceutical empire of deploying Trojan horse injections under the false banner of vaccination. There's a former NIS, which is the National Institute of Health employee, Dr. Kenji Yamamoto. He says, this is not a vaccine, it's a biocode warfare. So this is what the Japanese scientific community is saying, is like, this goes too far, and we now have so many child deaths, and obviously that's not what they want, and they're seeing that, and they're taking action like, hey, this is not good, which is obviously a very, very good initiative. And like I said, it's something you wouldn't right off the bat expect from Japan, but it's happening. So Japan is speaking up. So congratulations to Japan about it. Of course, the reason to do that is very, very sad. If your child dies of the mRNA vaccine, that is a terrible reason to speak up, but at least people do it. Yeah? And like I said, in a country like Japan, so in a sense that is good news.
What I can't understand is, at an early stage of this, when I saw one, the PCR tests were bought in massive amounts in 2017 and 18. So they were testing that, and it came out that the testing of that wasn't actually accurate. You telling me that all these different countries didn't know that? Of course they did. They've all complied, and some are coming out saying, "Oh, it's bad." No, they should have done that at the start. And there's millions that have died because of this, or they're permanently injured because of this. And shame on the whole lot of them, because they all knew. There's no way they didn't. If I could tell it, 100% they could.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is something that we probably felt was coming. Mexico's mandatory biometric program, what it means and when it starts. It is enacted a new law that makes the collection of biometric data mandatory for all citizens. This is part of a sweeping overhaul of the country's national identification system, centered on transforming the existing unique popular registry code, CURP, into a biometric-based identifier. The key features: every Mexican citizen will be required to obtain a new CURP that includes the biometric data. The new CURP will contain personal information, name, date of birth, sex, place of birth, nationality, as well as photograph, digital signature, fingerprints, and iris scans. It sounds like when you're going to America, they do that to you. Centralized storage. All this data will be stored in a centralized unique identifier platform, which will be linked to the government's database. The CURP will also be feature a QR code containing this information. And usually with all different countries that I've come across, when they have data of people, they're selling it, and they're making massive amounts of money on people's data that they're not aware is being sold. Legal basis. The change was formalized through amendments to the General Population Law and the General Forced Disappearance Law, with the decree published on July the 17th, 2025. The law applies to all citizens, including children and adolescents, with a specific national program to collect the biometric data. What's the purpose? The government states that the main objective is to combat organized crime and drug trafficking, address the crisis of missing persons in Mexico, improve the accuracy and security of identification. However, there are significant concerns from digital rights groups and privacy advocates about the potential for mass surveillance, lack of transparency, and risks of data misuse. Critics argue that new laws do not provide sufficient safeguards or accountability for how biometric data will be used. The law was enacted, as I said. The Ministry of the Interior Digital Transformation must create the unified identifier platform within 90 days of the decree by mid-October of this year, 2025. The rollout of the biometrics and insurance of the new CURP will begin gradually starting in October. Full enforcement, the biometrics will become mandatory for all citizens by February. And then how will they register? The citizens will be required to visit designated registration centers to provide their biometric data, photograph, fingerprints, iris scans, digital signatures. There will also be a national program to collect data from children and adolescents. All I would say is, if you're Mexican, and I think this will come across the pond, mandatory does not mean you have to do it. They're making you think you have to do it by saying it's mandatory, and you go in and you give your information. If you don't agree with this, don't give your information, don't do it.
Well, this seems like one of the first attempts to roll out digital identity, and that's what they want to roll out all over the world. That might be a reason. I think I read that Elon Musk is in Mexico, so if you combine the two things, then you might understand. And also in what we have mentioned on the show before about Palantir. Palantir is the organization behind it, which stores all the data and processes all that data. That's Palantir. Yeah? So it's and the owner of Palantir was a PayPal mafia guy, just like Musk. So this smells not good. This smells not good at all. But it's it seems all these guys, whether you agree or not, they proceed anyway with their agenda, and it's really terrible. It's like like I said, it's like we have thrown being a democracy out of the window.
And I hear different reports on China for their credit system and how that works. People say, no, it's grand, but I've seen people even on holiday. And if you cross the road, they automatically take it out of your account. Apparently, when you've got so many kind of bad credits, you can't even travel on a train, let alone an airline. And when you want to get food or anything, even like they determine, oh, you're having too much alcohol or you're doing this. It's total control. And it's, yeah, unfortunately, I assume 90% of the people will queue up and get it done like they would do anywhere else in Europe. But it's like, yeah, I suppose read Orwell's 1984 and it'll kind of like make you think twice.
Absolutely. And the continuing story of layoffs and people losing their job, this is a bad picture of the CEO of Microsoft. I mentioned him a few times before. But only in July, we're now in the beginning of August while we're recording this, U.S. employers slashed 62,000 jobs in July. Only in July, 62,000 people lost their job only in the U.S. we're talking about. It's the steepest monthly increase in layoffs since the pandemic. And the figure represents a 29% jump from June. So June, there were people laid off. Now in July, 29% more. And a 140% surge compared to July a year ago. So anyone who's arguing there are no layoffs, nothing is happening, whatever, it's huge what is happening. And this is US only, but this is happening all over the world. And they say the tech sector is leading these cuts, with companies announcing more than 24,500 technology layoffs throughout the month. But that leaves roughly 40,000 people not out of the technology sector. So again, 62,000 people losing their jobs. That's people. That is, I make this comparison again. That's impacting at least 180,000 people because they got a partner, they got children. So all these people are losing their jobs. And again, I'm repeating myself until finally people are starting to get it. It's unclear what these people are supposed to do. It's unclear what new jobs or other jobs they're supposed to take. And this has been 62,000. It's like totally wrong.
Yeah, so scary. So AI and EI.
Before we go there, it's even more important that people start to work on their brain fitness because, like we just saw, it's like AI is basically taking over everything and making you dumber, making you lose skills, lose abilities, lose critical thinking, lose creativity. All of those things we have, but just like in the physical sense, if we don't lose it, if we don't use it, you lose it. Yeah, so that is why even now is that we got to differentiate ourselves as human beings from the AI and everything else. And that's why I help people with brain fitness to upgrade your brain. Yeah? So I hope that people will have a serious look that they include brain fitness in their daily rituals, just like body fitness. And brain fitness is where I'm helping people to move from fitting in to flying out.
Just for those that are watching, you can scan the QR code or go to braingym.fitness.
Okay, AI and EI. AI, artificial intelligence, and EI, emotional intelligence. For a long time, and still to this very day, people are saying, oh, yeah, these AIs are taking over all these things, but We have emotional intelligence. AI doesn't. We are creative. AI doesn't. And I'm sorry to say that's not true. This is a print screen of a presentation of Sean Webb, a very knowledgeable man about artificial emotional intelligence, AEI. And he has developed that system, or one of the focus thing, and then the security agencies have tried to steal it from him. Whatever he has written, a whole book, and we read to make it public, because you can better make it public rather than have these three-letter agencies have it and you don't know what they're doing with it. And so these are the topics of this presentation. So if you look at Sean Webb on YouTube with a artificial emotional intelligence, you can find it, and it says about what is emotional intelligence. Are these LLM, are these large language models with emotional? Is it science fiction? The answer is no, it already exists. And how he taught that system, emotional intelligence, the objective, he gave a demo, and he's even discussing artificial consciousness, which is a step, well, not a step further, it's a whole other dimension. But he proves, he is given the artificial emotional intelligence a task where it's something like a family and with a friend, and they got another friend, and what they want to do, and whatever. It's typical and emotional, because it's something like you don't want to offend a friend, but also not your partner and the children. And very, well, not an easy case to solve. But the AEI system just completely solved that problem. So I wouldn't bet on but we are having these, we humans have creativity and AI. It's not true. And if you think back on the introduction slide about the 6 and the 9, where people are constantly arguing with each other, it seems like we people are becoming more stupid and the AI is becoming more smart. So we need to very, very urgently to solve our differences and to make sure we apply more common sense to everything we do, rather than just non-stop criticizing someone who has a different opinion. So again, this exists. This is there. It's openly there. It's already working.
Well, ChatGPT 5 released. It was released on the 7th of August, 2025, just a few days ago. The model is now accessible to both free and paid ChatGPT users. It makes a significant leap beyond previous versions, including the ChatGPT 4 and 4.5 Orion. The new features: expert level intelligence. It's described as OpenAI's smartest, fastest, most useful model yet, with built-in reasoning capabilities that approach expert level performance in a wide range of domains. The model delivers faster responses and can handle more complex queries with greater accuracy and reliability. Free tier users can now interact with GPT-5, though there are some usage limits up to 10 messages every 5 hours, with one thinking message per day. It further improves on image, audio, and text understanding, making it more versatile for tasks like image analysis, voice conversations, and document processing. The model can remember and process much longer conversations and documents, make it more effective for research, writing, and complex problem solving. Users can create more advanced custom GPT tailoring the assistant's behavior and knowledge to specific needs. And OpenAI has emphasized the new safety features and oversight, including the formation of a safety and security committee to monitor the deployment and impact of the ChatGPT 5. I saw a lot of people during the week were actually on it and doing it. One guy had created a game the previous version, kind of like Minecraft or something like that. It was like a box game that you do it. And the newer version created over 300 lines of code and way more advanced than everything. So it's got a load of features. I mean, when they're mentioning the safety, yeah, because I mean, unfortunately, society, the way there's people with issues that are trying to do harmful things. How is that done? Is it going to be biased like I've seen in previous versions when you ask for something, when you know that you know the answers to it? Probably same thing. But I mean, it's kind of going in tandem with with your previous point. You know, there's advantages and disadvantages of this, but like I think the more developed this is, I mean, we see the speed it's doing. I think the jobs rate, you know, I think I mentioned last week something like 14%. I'd say it's a lot higher. I'd say it's just going massive. And everyone you're talking to, they're concerned now. Before it was like it was the best thing since sliced bread. And now they're on, oh, my job is at risk. So advantages, yeah, there's different things they can do, but you should also be aware of the dangers to it.
And related to that is also, it seems that AI is introducing a new kind of work habits. This is a picture of Jensen Huang. He's the CEO of NVIDIA, which I think is by now the most valuable company in the world. There's so many trillions already we're talking about. He has just described his daily routine. So this is what he says about himself. He's working from 5 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. at 7 days a week. I work every day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't work. And if I'm not working, I'm thinking about work. So 5 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., 7 days a week. That is what this man is doing. And apparently it's rolling out across many, many other. Well, you could technically say that NVIDIA is not an AI company, but it's very closely related because it's the backbone, the infrastructure on which the AI is running. I have here a message from an AI startup called Cognition. They apparently have just bought another company called Windsurf. That's not so relevant. But the CEO of Cognition has sent a memo to these new employees coming into his company. And he said to them, they must commit to an intense work culture, including 80-hour weeks and 6 days in the office. We don't believe in work-life balance. Building the future of software engineering is a mission we are also deeply about, that we couldn't possibly separate the two. So when you want to work there, obviously you're going to earn a lot of money, but you got to spend 6 days at the office making more than 80-hour weeks. So even if, well, like what's happening with Meta and Zuckerberg, he's paying guys 100 million, even offering people 1 billion. It's like, well, it's nice all that money, but if you're 6-7 days a week at the office, you cannot spend it. Well, maybe you can spend it on a Ferrari driving you back and forth from your bedroom to the office, but that's about it. The rest of the time you cannot even go to a restaurant to have a nice meal. There's no holiday thing, so the VAT on holiday, they don't care, because it's like, you will be working all the time. So what's the use of having 100 million, 200 million? You cannot spend it on anything. You cannot say, I'd like to go to a gallery and maybe buy a beautiful painting. Well, you can't, because you don't have the time. You're working 7 days a week in a lousy office. I think it's extremely unhealthy. And it's like, they are now demanding it. It's like, hey, if you want to do that, like Jensen Huang, fine, it's your decision. But now they say it to employees, like, we expect you to do the same. And it's also totally contrarian to a lot of research around productivity, and it's been showing that the more time off you have, the better it is for your productivity. And so it's like, I think this is creating a crazy culture, which is extremely unhealthy. I think a lot of these folks, by the time they reach 30 or I think they're totally burned out, because that's the only way to go.
goes against health and safety as well. I mean, and I even saw that with a lot of corporations as well. Like if they get a person on salary, they just expect them to work and work and work, and then they're just kind of bombarding them constantly. And people then they're stuck in the loop, and they can't get away from it because they're afraid that they mightn't get another job because they get a bad reference, and they know that. So there's a load of employers, companies abusing people, treating them like slaves.
Yeah, and it's getting worse. That's my message. It's getting worse, and it's like work-life balance. Goodbye.
Good news, Carol. So this is just one as well, because sometimes people are looking for a virtual assistant. So this is one of the companies that I partnered with somebody on that. There's a QR code you can scan with different things that we're helping people with social media, doing all the posting on that, email marketing, websites, landing pages. And we've got offers some $300. So we cater for all different budgets, bookkeeping, accounting, digital marketing, and graphic design. So go to va.world or just scan the QR code.
So this is a picture of a man in an Egyptian tomb where he found in these jars, the picture of jars, he found honey, which is 3,000 years old. I repeat, 3,000 years old, and is still edible as honey never expires. So I think there's extremely good news. Is like, yeah, honey you should be able to continue using even if it's 3,000 years old. It's extremely, extremely healthy. But it's like, even like I mentioned a few weeks ago, if you put it on your website that is extremely healthy and where it helps for, you're no longer allowed to do that. But this proves even if it's 3,000 years old, you can still eat it and it's still healthy for you. So it's totally amazing, and I really urge people to use honey, but only the real honey, and not so use it from smaller businesses, from beekeepers themselves, and not from the big supermarkets, because that is just malted sugar from China. So that has got nothing. There are no bees involved in that. It's called honey, but it's got nothing to do with bees. Yeah, so buy it directly from beekeepers, and that's extremely good. And there is no, how do you call it, a best before date or something like that. The best before date is 3,000 years. Yeah, so you can keep on using it, the real honey.
Yeah, and whereas when you get it in the supermarkets, there is a best before date. And the same, I saw somebody saying about that, the Himalaya salt, just my luck, Himalaya salt, hundreds of thousands of years old, and it's going to expire in a year in the packet. And people believe that. That's just for consumerism. So you think, oh, that's gone off, I'll dump it. So just be aware. So this is a nice one that I saw. I saw a nice video on this, the honesty-based shop concept in Norway. A TikTok video I watched is at Kailode, K-I-L-O-D-E. It showed the Norway shop. It wasn't like the one that I've shown in the picture that just AI generated, but it was one where you walked in, there was meats and eggs and everything in there. And it operates on an honesty system where customers pay for goods without staff supervision. The video was highlighting self-service nature of the shop, showing how customers are trusted to pay the correct amount, often using cash or digital payment methods. Honesty-based shops are also trust-based, or self-service shops are common in Norway. These shops have no staff, and it's like there was no cameras either, which your man was shocked. He said, "Do you think that there'd be a camera doing it?" And there wasn't. So it's kind of like the way they're talking is like the trust system. It helps the community, and it's like they're all kind of, yeah. Can something happen? Yes, but I think it's a wonderful thing to see, and I even see it here. Like I go for walks and I see people selling flowers or selling stuff. And they just say 5 zlotys, like, just over a euro or something like that. You just put it into a box. So, and apparently there's in the States as well, there's a lot of different countries that have it, usually in the smaller communities. Obviously that wouldn't work in the bigger cities, but I think it's a beautiful model. And the fact that, you don't have all the staff and everything, you can keep the cost down, which in turn is helping the community, but a model based on honesty.
Yeah, basically, I think we need that for everything. Yeah. Soap. Now you might think, soap, that's not interesting, that's not worthwhile. But according to UNICEF, there are 2.3 billion people. Well, that's out of the 8 billion. That's huge. They have no access to hand washing facilities with running water and soap available at home. They don't have that. So they have to go like these kids on a central facilitation to wash their hand. But then the problem is they also don't have soap. And there was one man in Cambodia called Samir Lakani. He said, I saw a village mother bathing her newborn kid, but she had no soap, so she was using the laundry power. But that is very harmful to the skin of the baby. So he said, that's not good. So what that person has done is that he wants to promote that people wash their hands with soap very regularly. It's been shown in healthcare that it saves lives if you will wash your hands. We might think is now normal, but I think 100 years ago it was not normal. So a doctor would go from one patient to another without washing his hands, and that created a lot of death. So just by simply washing your hand between each patient is very, but in that way, it's like these kids, if they cannot wash their hands, it's like, yeah, disease will be transmitted, and it can prevent up to 1 million deaths and can reduce the risk of respiratory illness by up to 21% in children and adults. So what that person has done, he has a service where he goes to hotels and everything is like where you have these small pieces of soap, which most of the time you use once and then you just throw it away, or the person who comes to clean your room, he just takes it away and puts a new one. His service is that he collects those used pieces of soap and they redistribute them to literally all these 2.3 billion people who don't have access to just normal soap and water. So I was saying that's a really, really huge and great initiative to make use of some stuff which we don't even know. We just throw it away, but it can literally save lives.
And same thing, raping and pillaging country, taking all their minerals and acids, the West, and yet the people don't even have soap. And that is unreal. Artificial turf. Oh no, sorry, healing herbs.
Yes, for healing, we don't have to. Our primary where most people go to is the pharmacy or the doctor and say, yeah, I've got this, I got that, and I had some problem with it. Here's a picture of parsley, chives, mint, basil, fennel, and you can read yourself. It's like these herbs help you to heal with all kinds of different things. So instead of going first to the pharmacy and say you have a pill or a powder or an ointment or something like that, why don't you try some herbs first? And they're available everywhere. You can buy them everywhere. And especially if you go to the farmer's market, try the herbs first. And if they don't work, maybe you can look for other options. So, and it's available to everybody, and it's cheap. It's available. It's everywhere. So start using these herbs.
Excellent. Yeah. Artificial turf banned. Scientific study research has shown that artificial turf contains and can release hazardous chemicals, and that is a significant source of microplastic pollution. These findings were promptly regulate actions and bans in various regions. The European Union has taken a significant regulatory step by banning the sale of granular synthetic polymer infill, commonly used in the artificial turf fields, effective from October 2031. This is part of the broader effort to reduce microplastics pollution, as artificial turf is recognized as a major source. First thing I say is, why wait 6 years? When you know something is dangerous, ban it immediately. But give them 6 years. Health concerns to chemical exposure. Artificial turf contains chemicals such as polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, heavy metals, and PFAs, which are linked to cancer, endocrine disruption, and other health risks. Children and athletes are particularly vulnerable due to frequent and prolonged contact. Cancer risk is an ongoing concern about increased cancer risk, especially for children who play on these surfaces, to definitive casual links that are being studied. And I think it was in Holland actually that they started banning it. So that's where I saw the article. That was originally they're just saying that the heat as well that's generated. I mean, I played on them. Like, it's like if you do a sliding tackle or anything, it burns you. So they're saying here, heat-related illnesses, synthetic turf can reach surface temperatures far higher than natural grass, sometimes exceeding, I cover both America and the rest of the world, 160 degrees Fahrenheit and 71 degrees Celsius, increasing the risk of heat, stress, and burn. So, I mean, my child likes to be a goalkeeper and things like that. I mean, I know you weren't a sport. I don't know, did you use them? But it's not good. And why they wait for 6 years, I don't know. And some countries won't ban it. But when we know something is toxic, it should be removed immediately.
I find that totally incredible. It's like, indeed, in the Netherlands, I would say, when we talk about field hockey, I think now all the teams, they play on artificial turf. And it's changing, and well, it has changed. You got now the artificial turf, but it's called wet turf, where they spray it so that it is wet, that if you fall, it has less of an impact. I played in a team with folks who always used to make, well, it's field hockey, it's not football or soccer, but it's like, he made some kind of, he would dive to a ball and try to reach a ball. He always is like, was totally wounded, his arms, his knees, and then it hurts when you go in the shower, yeah, and everything. But when so you would play every Sunday, and the next Sunday it wasn't healed yet. Yeah, so then he would fall again, and it would be open again. So it's like the guy was a walking scar, yeah, everywhere, and I'm talking about 30 years ago. It's like, in the Netherlands, literally, there are hundreds of these things. Because all the hockey teams, they play on artificial grass. And I immediately, when you started explaining, I had to think about that guy. It's like, well, he will for sure have now cancer. I'm like, it's inevitable, because every week he would have these wounds. Like, well, unfortunately, I never do, because I was like, I know what would happen, so I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. Fortunately, I didn't do it, but it like that they must have known by then, or maybe a few years later, and they didn't take action, and this is 40 years after the fact. So, huh? Really incredible. So let's go to a simple thing which everybody can do, and frequent listeners know I do it every day, and Roy is improving on that a lot as well. So, walking. Walking seems like not sexy, not like, it's not like, hey, I'm playing tennis, or I'm playing rugby or hockey. No, I just walk. Here's some benefits of walking. Even 1 minute makes your blood flow elevated. After 5 minutes, your mood improves. Who doesn't want that? 5 minutes of walking. After 30 minutes, you're fat burning. After 45 minutes, your overthinking reduces. After 60 minutes, your dopamine increases. So aim for 10,000 steps per day. Go for a walk. It's one of the most healthiest things you can do, and almost anyone can do it everywhere. And I'm not talking. I'm kind of handicapped myself. My heel is destroyed, so for me, walking is not easy. But I still walk every day. So it's like there's hardly any excuse not to go walking. And it's one of the most healthiest things you can do. And again, it just put on your shoes, leave your front door, and you're walking. That's it. You can do it at any time, any moment of the day. Almost everybody can do that. I would urge you to start walking.
And I think an important thing is, I remember you telling me that before, years ago, you felt that you were kind of, oh, it's raining, oh, it's this, and you had excuses and then you just said, I'm having my walk every day. So you have the proper rain gear, you have the proper heating jackets, warm jackets if it's winter and stuff like that. So you don't have excuse-itis. You just do, this is part of my day, this is part of my health to walk. So I think it's an important point as well for people.
Absolutely. It's make it part of your daily routine. Well, it helps with some people's like get a dog because you gotta get out of it, but you don't need a dog. Yeah, just do it yourself.
So this is an interesting one. I'd seen a lot of this online, people doing tests with the water. So I got it. I'm going to just kind of read what exactly it is. A water electrolyzer. It to pass an electric current through water using electrodes, splitting the water into hydrogen and oxygen gases. The reaction at the electrodes are for water testing. The device measures changes in electrical properties like conductivity, dissolved ions from salts, metals, or other contaminants, increased conductivity, which the device detects. And then this one, because it's cheap, right? I had seen a lot of people doing it, and I was always going, I wonder what's my water like. And next I saw it, and somebody said it's only 10 or 12 bucks on eBay. And I was like, oh, so I checked it here. I got it for $4 plus postage. It's like €4 or less than €4. And I was like, okay, that's strange. So cheap water electrolyzers testers often come with a color chart or guide that claims to interpret the colors produced during electrolysis. These guides typically suggest the following meaning. Yellow or brown claims to indicate the presence of heavy metals like iron, manganese, or organic pollutants. Black, often said to mean the presence of heavy metals, industrial waste, or other dangerous contaminants. Green, sometimes claimed to show the presence of pesticides or other chemical pollutants. Red, marked as a sign of dissolved iron or rust in the water. White, said to indicate the presence of calcium, magnesium, or other minerals, hard water. Blue, occasionally claimed to indicate copper or other specific metals. Manufacturers often present these color changes as direct evidence of specific contaminants in your water, suggesting that the device can see heavy metals, bacteria, or other chemicals based on the color during the test. All right, I'm going to actually do a test, and then I'm going to talk about it. These things are kind of dangerous. I'm going to try to move the camera down now, so you will see me doing a live test. And then we can see, I'll put the water. I've got 2 water jars here, two water here. So this one here on the side is from the kettle, but it's the same filtered water. And that's the water from the tap through a filter, like a Brita filter. And you just put them in like this. It just takes a minute. So I'm going to turn it on and just leave it. I assume you can see that there.
Yeah.
And as it's doing that, then I'll just talk. I'll continue on as we're giving it the minute. The dissolving, the colors are primarily caused by the corrosion and dissolution of the electrodes themselves, often made of iron or other metals. So it's like the metals are making the colors that they see. So that's one of the things. No standardization. There's no standardized or scientifically validated chart for these devices. Each manufacturer produced their own interpretation and not reliable for contaminant detections. The colors changes do not reliably indicate the presence or absence of specific contaminants. They are more a result of the electrochemical reactions at the electrodes than a true reflection of the water quality, right? So I'm not sure. Have we got a minute done there now or so? Is there?
A little bit longer.
Okay, so we can turn that off, right? And you can see, I'm going to put it up now and just explain a few things to you, right? So you can see the ones I tested, because I had sent them to Arnold, I have the screen here now, but this doesn't seem too bad, and the same with this one. But there was ones that I did during the week, and like there was yellow on a lot of them, and then there was like really gunky, disgusting. You remember that, Arnold? You saw the ones, and I said that came from the kettle. So then I thought, is it the kettle that's giving off bad metals or something like that? So then I had I had gas in the house as well. So I boiled water and gas. So I said, and that was the exact same. So it's obviously, then I was going to do it now, but it doesn't make sense. I got this kind of spring water and it came out clear. And I saw a guy online and he was saying the distilled water. So he got it, but he was saying about that it's the devices. But this is the most important thing because they're cheap. And I want people to be very careful because you see a lot of people online doing this. I have a face. I don't know, can you see the light? These are live. So people are using these and they're putting them in, or their water. Their finger touches that, they could get fried. There's supposed to be a fuse. These are only a couple of bucks device. So as much as there's loads of people online, they're getting massive kind of online views and things like that, you have to be very careful because you could electrocute yourself. And some people have the kids next to them and everything. I didn't know that they would, like, it was because my brother sent me on something, showing me, hey, this is live. And he was saying that it's the actual, the metal devices that are causing the water to get corroded and everything. So sometimes we get information thinking, so you need expensive equipment to test the water. But on the other side, it was strange for me that the bottled water with the blue cap, I mean, we've talked prior to regarding about that, but that was clear. And when your man did distilled water, that was clear. So is there some kind of fact that if it is dirty water that it shows up? I'm not sure, but the main thing that I'm saying here is be very careful because it's like having the electric wire that you've just taken off the plug. If you have a plug plugged in and you just cut it and you have the wire and you're playing around with it, you'd never do that because you'd be frightened. And that's what that is. That's probe. So kids could be near that, or you could put your finger into the water. So be very careful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we end as usual with some inspiration. And, well, there are ugly things happening, well, especially in the UK, but it's happening everywhere. Is like people are put into jail for many years or get huge fines for so-called misinformation. It's like and it's not misinformation like Roy just said about the device for measuring water. No, it's something which they said on Facebook or on social media, and it's misinformation, and you get to spend 3 years in jail. So I came across this thing. Is like I love this play of words where it says, I'm not spreading misinformation, I'm spreading missing information.
Nice.
That's actually what we try to do with this show, with another perspective, is to give you literally another perspective on certain things. And we share with you information, which is most of the time, I'm inclined to say all, but let's say most of the time, not being shared on the mainstream media. What I shared with you about what's happening in Japan, I bet you would have not read about this in any other major news outlet. But it's huge. So it is missing information and not misinformation.
Nice. Yeah.
Being present.
It's something I noticed that most people aren't present when they're doing something. They're all trying to multitask. They're all trying to just, even when they're working, they have the phone next to them. They have it dinging and everything. All these notifications. So, like what you mentioned earlier about the walking. I mean, I've started getting into the walking again. Usually it's when my son is going to school. That's when I do my walk around the park, when I drop him off or when I collect him, we both go together. And because he's on holidays, then I kind of, I kind of missed out on that. So I started doing it again this week and I thoroughly enjoy it. And it's just like watching animals going across. I walk up and I see the frogs going in and I just stop and I just look at it. I'm just watching the butterflies and just, even yesterday, no, I did a grill outside and I hadn't seen it for ages. The squirrel, like a baby squirrel, was up on the tree and it just eating away. And I'm like, I'm just totally present. And anything I'm doing, wherever you are, be there. And it's like what I see, and I've seen it all my life, is they're in work and they're thinking about their family. They're at home and they're thinking about their work. And it's like whatever you're doing, when you're cooking, be present with the herbs and be totally present with everything. When you're walking, just be at one with nature. And you just enjoy things a lot better. Because if you're scrolling and you're just, because unfortunately, I see so many people out there on the bus, they can't even just look out and just enjoy the view. They have to have their head down and they're scrolling. Even walking, I'd say 80% of people now walking, there's walking zombies. You're going to miss. They don't see the squirrel. They don't see the frogs jumping into the water. Put that device away. It's not saying you can't listen to a podcast like our podcast or listen to some music. You can do that, but don't be just doing mindless scrolling. And that's why I say be present.
Actually, it requires a lot of effort. It's because we are so distracted either by our eyes or by our thoughts, whatever. It is not easy to do. I'm saying that, but it's like with everything. If you put in a daily practice, you will improve and you will improve fast. Yeah, but you have to put in the effort. It's not like, oh, I walked for 10 minutes and again I'll do it. No, do it every day. Walk for an hour, half an hour every day. Be present, like you said. Actually, you were talking about the squirrel. Most people know I'm from Netherlands. The only squirrels I see there their color is red, burgundy, orange type of squirrel. That's the squirrels I see. A few days ago, I saw here a couple of squirrels, and they were black. Yes, they were like, I was like, do you see it red? And it was absolutely black. So you only notice that when you're present. So I see it's around this time of year, every time there's snails crossing the sidewalk. And that's at a particular time. If you go an hour earlier, you don't see them. If you go an hour later, they're gone. You see you only snails you see is the people that stepped on them and they're killed. But for the rest, they're gone. So it's really weird. It's like you can put it's like you have to be in time at the office or something like that. I don't know. But it's like, yeah, you see those snails. But I bet that many people are walking there. I see, have you seen those snails? No. It'll be like, you got to teach yourself to pay attention. You got to teach yourself to be present. And it's exactly like Roy said, but it takes time and effort. So we want to close today with a Tibetan proverb. I don't know whether it's really a Tibetan proverb, but it doesn't matter. I loved it. And it connects to what we were just saying. And it says, the secret to living well and longer is eat half, walk double, love triple, and love without measure. So that's homework for all of us, not only the coming week, but the rest of our life.
Beautiful. Very nice. Very nice. Perfect. Link for that channel. So yeah, you'll find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, and share with your friends. And I mean, you saw all the different things that we were saying. Just scan the QR code. You'll find the 3 different things: the brain gym, the VA, and my own stuff. Until next week, take care.